Today on Viewfinder TV, we will be taking a look at a variety of topics featured in the top video interviews produced by Grand View University students. Whether it's about involvement at Grand View or taking a look at someplace new, these interviews each share a sense of community.
Good day to you all. My name is Linnea Hietala and welcome to Viewfinder TV. In today's episode, we will be reviewing some of the top video interviews created by Grand View students, covering a variety of topics from the game design program to the discussion on banned books. Let's take a look at these interviews and see what they have to share. Up first, Grand View student Annika Malawat shares her experience as a woman of color in the Grand View Esports community.
If I could change anything about the esports community as a whole, it would probably just be less incel to women. Honestly, we're not that scary. We're just other people. You can just talk to us and not be weird about it. And people need to shower. Just shower, man. Gosh. I'm a junior here at Grand View University. I am double majoring in graphic design and video game design. And I'm also a dual sport athlete. I play soccer and I'm obviously on the esports team here. I'd say that esports is just the competitive gaming. Any games that you play multiplayer, you have the opportunity to play competitively and then collegiately, which is what we do here at Grand View. When I first came here, I had just planned to be on the content team, which is basically just doing like social media and video and graphics content. But I found that I was actually good enough to play on the Overwatch team, so I tried out and I have been on the JV Overwatch team for about 2 years now. The general demographic for esports is typically white men. So yeah, I am obviously not that, but try to spice it up here and there. It's definitely been tough. I mean, I was really fortunate when I came here that there were already women and women of color on the esports team, and they immediately took me into their wing because they're like, oh, another person that's like us. I think there is, a stigma surrounding women in gaming that we're not as good at game or that we're just here for attention and things like that. And I feel like I have felt that in a couple ways when I go to like some esports events and stuff like that. You get more attention from men, unwanted attention, just because they're like, oh, there's a girl who's like interested in this, and oh, they're here, they must want attention from us men, and that's just not how it is. I'm just here to do my job, man, leave me alone. Yeah, it's been difficult, trying to get along with people when you're kind of on the outside, being, oh, there's a girl on this team, or oh my gosh, that's a girl on the mic, that's crazy. And even though there are the caveats of being treated differently and worse as a woman, there's also, you are a woman and they are trying to like be welcoming to you because they know that the community isn't typically, I guess, open to that. I'd say Grand View Esports in general has actually been really good to the women in the program. And I'd say that most of the people that I've come across here have been very open to the idea of, women in gaming and women in collegiate esports. I'd say that an incel is, at least from my perspective, is a male who does not know how to interact around women and therefore interacts with them in a way that is not appropriate. I expected to be ostracized a lot more as a woman of color, honestly. But I was pleasantly surprised to see that, there are already women here in the program and that the men here were not as, unapproachable as I thought they were going to be. I feel that, like, if I were to be a man, some things may be different. I feel like my pool of friends would probably be different, but honestly, I'm happy with, my experience here and the people that I've met because I'm a girl and a person of color, so no complaints, really. The dynamic on the esports team is like, I don't know, we're all friends. We all like each other. We hang out outside of game time and outside of class. I mean, the camaraderie that we have outside of class definitely helps, like when it comes to game time, because we just know how everybody works better. I definitely think that being in the esports arena helps build camaraderie, because I mean, it's one big local space where everybody gets to be, and even if you are in call and you're sitting next to your buddy who just got like 6 kills and he's screaming, you're happy for him because you're there in person. So I think, being in this like more of a local area is, it's good for the team and it's good for the community. because it's when the game's over and everybody logs off, then we can go and talk about what's going on. You don't have to stay and call, and you get to be close. You know, you get up, you can dap somebody up, you know, you can hype them and rub them on the shoulders. You know how it is. But yeah, for the women who want to join esports, it's probably not as scary as you think. I feel as though people in a community at college especially are probably more open to the idea of women in esports and the community surrounding it. I would say that all you have to do, you know, is just try, and even if you're the first one there, then you're the first one who gets to help usher other women and people of color into the program. So don't be scared, even if you are the first one.
Thank you so much.
Sounds good.
The esports community and game design communities at Grandview greatly overlap. In this next interview, leader of the game design program, Dr. Josh Call, shares what the program is all about.
From concept to alpha state product, they pitch an idea, they sell it to the class collectively decides, and then they all work together to bring that vision to life. And usually, about week 5, there's a moment where everyone realizes, we know how to do this, and we can do this well. And for me, that's the most important moment in the program, because it's where students start to see themselves actively, creatively doing the work of their field, and they actually believe in themselves to do it. My name is Josh Call. I'm a professor of English here at Grand View University, which means my time is split between teaching courses in English, and I also run our game design program. Early 2000s, I realized there was an entire academic field dedicated to studying and making these things, and out of that kind of grew a long-standing interest, and I started researching, publishing, and making. Games are probably, I think, the fastest growing media form, right? And I think arguably one of the most popular media forms that exists. So why not make a program where people could bring their collective creative interests into what making a game could look like? From the aesthetic and artistic elements of the asset design to the sound design elements to the actual mechanics and rules of what makes a playful experience fun or engaging. I think the virtue of our program and what it teaches students is that we cover a broad range of skills, because everyone comes in with different desires. We all like games, but we like different things about games. Everyone will learn how to make assets. Everyone will learn how to craft stories. And everyone will learn some of the basics of how you work to put all these things together in a system of experience. And then as they move further into the program, people specialize. We move into our CAPSTONE experience, and we will divide classes up into studio teams, and you'll have an art team, and you'll have a narrative team, you'll have a design team, and they'll be working together, but they'll be working together using shared skills, doing the specific things that they're really invested in. Everyone thinks right now that the coolest thing in the world would be to go to work in the games industry, and it's a great job, I'm sure, but most people don't realize the scope of what's possible with the ability to design games, the kind of graduate work you could go into, the nonprofit work you could go into, the government work you could go into. Game design and game design related thinking is, I think, one of the most necessary skills for people to understand and work with complex information systems. Mostly what I really want people to do is recognize that this is an absolutely creative and artistic field, and see more people realizing that there's a path forward, and it's not just something they have to do with a kind of hobbyist pursuit. At the moment, we're still the only program in the state of Iowa dedicated exclusively to game design the way that we do. I'd like to see that stay. I'd like us to be the only game in town, but I'd like to see us really become visible for that and the work our students are producing.
If you're looking into game design, this program may be a great option for you, especially if you like to unleash your creativity. In our next interview, Keith Porkchop Jones shares his experience working at Paws and Pints, a park for dogs and humans alike.
The ongoing comment that I keep using is, it's the dream job I never knew I wanted. I mean, I get to wake up and come here every day, and it's, even my worst days are better than any other thing I've ever done. 5 years ago when they started this journey and were dragging me along for it, I never thought they'd actually be offering me a job and letting me assist in running this thing. I'm Porkchop. I'm the facilities manager here at Paws and Pints. I've been with Kyle, Meg, and Casey for probably the past 5 years since its inception, helping them do pop-up events around town. Just their general workhorse, really. If they needed something carried, moved, stashed, whatever they needed done, I did. Dogs and I have always just kind of vibed. There's no real way to put it. I mean, you either know you're good with dogs or you're okay with dogs, but there's rarely a dog I can't pet. We have a plethora of backgrounds out there right now. A couple of my best guys are former construction workers. Like, they just get tired of breaking their bodies every day. Like, yeah, I'll go pet dogs, pick up dog poop, and I've seen them clear the backyard sprinting to get in between a dog scuffle or anything like that. So it takes a special kind. You find the people that dogs just gravitate towards, and they're fearless. They're gonna go right up to a dog without even thinking twice, and that dog's gonna let them pet you, regardless what could happen. Some of the biggest hurdles have been just managing expectations, I think is the best way to put it. I mean, being able to manage people, influence guests, getting guests to do what you want them to do, watching dogs, being able to read a dog and know that that dog is either gonna go over there and rile something up or he's gonna go over there and pee on something, let's be honest. The days that you think we would be busy, we're not, and the days that we shouldn't be busy, we're slammed. And it makes no sense, no rhyme or reason. So you get really good at just rolling with the punches and figuring it out as you go. It's been chaos and the best thing in the world all at the same time. So currently we have boarding, grooming, daycare, the park itself, the restaurant, a retail shop, training room, which is behind us here. And then we're working towards having a vet in our leased space next to us, hopefully by the end of this year. So it will ultimately be just doggy paradise. And we have food, we have beer, we have dogs. You turn the corner, there's another dog. There's dogs everywhere. In 3 words, Paws and Pints is dogs, beer, and dogs.
Solid.
I drink too much.
If you're a dog lover like myself, Paws and Pints is the perfect place to go to relax and maybe even read a book. On a more serious note, in our next interview, Dr. Amy Getty explains the issue of banned books.
There is that meme, people aren't afraid of the books, they're afraid of thinking, or critical thinking, yeah. A lot of it is just a fear of society moving forward and their children kind of being exposed to issues that parents maybe don't want to discuss with them. And so they don't want the kids to bring it home and then ask difficult questions. I think that's a big impulse behind challenging books. A lot of books get banned because of social situations that they're describing. So Fahrenheit 451 gets banned because it shows a society that is banning books. So ironically, people are maybe offended by that. 1984 gets banned. I think that one is usually because of the disturbing nature of the society that it depicts. The Giving Tree gets banned actually because of gender issues, and it's a pretty sexist book, and people don't want that around their children. To Kill a Mockingbird gets banned because of the racial inequities and a lot of the things in there that people think are too disturbing for children, or sometimes people think it's outdated and they don't want to show that to children. So there's a lot of different reasons that books get banned or challenged. Literature is powerful, and people are afraid of what their children will think if they read something by a person who is having a different worldview or perspective than their own. I do think politics play a role. I think a lot of times people are, as are we all, we're led by the little sound bites that we get on our social media. And so I think that a lot of times people hear something about a book and they think, oh, that's awful, I can't believe a child is reading that. They have never read the book, they really don't know anything about the book, and I think that those kinds of dog whistles are in our social media. I would say the #1 reason that books are challenged across Iowa, across the US, is because of sexuality, because of LGBTQ issues. Tango Makes 3, it's a children's picture book about 2 male penguins who adopt an egg. They're seen as gay penguins, and so people freak out. They don't want their kids learning about nature. It's an important issue to discuss challenged and banned books, especially when it's a topic that might seem like it's too much for a certain age group or, whatever, to let people kind of decide on their own with enough information. Books are powerful, but I just think it's ironic too that most parents, many parents, not all, don't actually pay attention to what their kids are watching on TikTok, television. But the minute a book gets into a curriculum, then they're freaking out. So it just seems a little hypocritical.
We all know that books can empower critical thinking, and another way to feel empowered is through art. In our next interview, Sabrina Carper shares her career at Mainframe Studios and how she finds fulfillment through creating.
So I'm a mixed media artist. I do a lot of painting, some fiber arts, and a lot of sculpture, and I try to mix them when I can. So I'll spend a lot of time painting and then embroidering through paintings, which can be a little tricky. You spend 10 plus hours working on something and then you stab a lot of tiny holes into it. But I really like the texture that comes from it. Sculpture, really a whole different ball game too. There's a lot of challenges in fabrication and 3D modeling and stuff like that. I think when you start to consider art as a career, it in some ways becomes work, And so you're hunting something and you're working really hard to get there. And so in some ways it becomes less relaxing than it was when you were a kid and it was a hobby. But in other ways it becomes a lot more fulfilling, where I can finish a piece and I can stand back and I can look at it and I can say, yeah, that's exactly what I meant to do and it's doing what it's supposed to. And then when you get exhibition opportunities and you start to put the work out there, it's really gratifying just to have the opportunity to share what's been inside your head for so long with people who care about it. For me, I think a piece is successful when I can see that someone has an emotional reaction to it. I think in my work especially, I'm searching for something, I'm searching for a meaning, and when somebody else sees it without me having to explain it to them, that's the aha moment, yes, they get it, they saw what I was trying to do there, and I think that's a successful piece for me. Make a lot of work, make really bad work, and eventually it'll be really good work. I think the biggest piece of advice that I have for a young artist is to think about why they're making what they're making. It's one thing to be really technically skilled. You can learn how to draw the perfect apple. But why are you drawing apples? What's so good about apples anyway? I think the conceptual part of your practice, the reason that you feel so drawn to making something, the reason that you are so creative is a core aspect of what drives an artist.
Thank you to Sabrina Carper for those inspiring words. And with that, today's episode comes to an end. We hope you enjoyed these highlights and thank you for tuning in. My name is Linnea Hietala and this has been Viewfinder TV.